Hello YouTube! First of all, happy 25th birthday to the Elder Scrolls franchise. And second, welcome to a special video on the cuisines of Tamriel. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is because I recently ordered the official Elder Scrolls cookbook and I discovered that it comes with neat little lore descriptions of all the dishes, and it even comes with lore descriptions of the racial cuisines. So I decided to cover it after some people on Discord said, well yeah, that would be an interesting video. Now, this video is not sponsored in any way by Bethesda or anyone else. I just found this interesting and people on the Discord were interested as well. So yeah, I want to give a bit of an overview of the lore info given in the book, since I previously, all we could do was guess on the cuisines. So yeah, let's kick off. So I received requests for this topic for a long time now, but I'm really glad that I never covered anything on it before, because before we got this book, I was basically only able to guess on the cuisines, and piecing them together using item placement and other items in-game wasn't just very accurate, since in lore things are mostly different most of the time. But now we have descriptions of each race's cuisines, and well, it's officially licensed material by Bethesda, so I accept it as canon, and we will see what I have learned. Let's start with my favorite race, the Imperials. The Imperial cuisine is made out of some of the best ingredients found all around Tamriel. According to the book, the Imperials approach cooking in the same way they approach the rest of life, in a straightforward and proud manner. As traders and diplomats, the Imperials collect their ingredients from all over Tamriel, resulting in a cuisine that incorporates a huge variety of meats, vegetables and spices from all over Tamriel. One of the most interesting Imperial dishes from the book is, in my opinion, the special Imperial seasoning, which is seasoning carried by the cooks of the Imperial Legion to use when cooking meats or fish for the troops. In the universe itself, so not in our universe, because the recipes are different in the book than how they are in lore. Logically, because in lore there are certain ingredients we don't have in real life. But in the universe it consists out of bright citrus, savory and coriander. Another interesting Imperial dish is the Great Imperial Mushroom Sauce, once a simple country food which was picked up by the Legion and is now even served to the generals themselves, as it became pretty popular. And one of its ingredients is, you guessed it, the Imperial seasoning. Next up are the Nords, whose cuisine we pretty much already knew because there's a lot of it in Skyrim. It's simple and sometimes a bit primitive. It reflects Skyrim's harsh climate. Due to Skyrim's climate, not all of the province is fit for farming, and thus large parts of the Nordic cuisine is made up of meats that are locally hunted and fish that are locally caught. The most extravagant Nordic meals are, according to the book, served at feasts and consist out of mammoth roast, horker meat and other meat from large wild animals. Their desserts and drinks are relatively light, made with the fruits that they can grow in the harsh Skyrim climate, like juniper and snowberries. Due to Skyrim, we already know a large part of the Nordic cuisine, and most of it that's basically appeared in Skyrim is mentioned in the book itself. But I want to give a special mention to the meat with juniper berry, which appears in the book, and I simply love that they put it in because I like the reference and I really liked collecting the meat with juniper berry bottles in the game, so leave me be. This was basically one of my favorite parts of reading that book. Now, next are the Red Guards. The Red Guards we still know relatively little about, even though the book spends about 30% of a page to tell us. They only tell us that they grow drought-hardy crops and raise simple livestock, like goats, in the habitable parts of Hammerfell. Due to the arid Elekir desert, growing crops and getting food for Red Guards isn't as easy as for the other races, and most of their regular foods get imported from other parts around Tamriel. That said, they do have a rich export sector for spices and hot peppers, which they export to the rest of Tamriel. However, the book does not tell us what the Red Guards exactly eat. They only mention that they eat flat breads that they bake on stones instead of ovens, because the stones get warm in the heat of the Elekir desert, and that they make hearty stews out of the things that they can get through farming, but they don't really specify what the ingredients are. Also, Redguard dishes don't seem to be featured anywhere in the book, unfortunately, but it seems to be that it's almost the only race, together with the Altmer unfortunately, that do not get a mention in one of the dishes. I might have missed any of them, and if I find any one of them later on, I will add it to the top comment in this video. Now, next are the Bosmer. They are an interesting case to say at the least, since they have a pact with the god Ifrin, the Green Pact. This pact entails that they cannot eat or harm living plants from their homeland of Valenwood. This has resulted in the Bosmer of Valenwood eating almost exclusively meat, which they receive from hunting animals in the Valenwood jungle. They also forage eggs from treetops to then later cook. Most of their food is not really prepared in a special way like the other races. It's cooked, then eaten. Simple as that. They only really prepare big meals for guests, and they just hunt and forage the raw materials to cook for themselves and then eat it in a simple manner. While the book does not contain a lot of Bosmer dishes, it does contain a few, and there was one that I found particularly interesting: the Bosmer bites. These are small fruit slices with cheese and held together by strips of meat. Usually a type of ham, but the Bosmer use for this dish any kind of meat that they can find. The interesting thing about this is the fruit that's inside it, because according to the lore description of this dish, these are made using fruits that naturally fell from trees. The fruits inside have also been completely emptied from all seeds, because the seeds must have been replanted, otherwise the forest will get angry. So to eat this little bit of fruit, the Bosmer need to put in a lot of effort. Now, next we arrive at the Khajiit, the creatures that just love their sugar. Their cuisine contains a lot of sweet dishes cooked with moon sugar over campfires that the Khajiit set up during their travels. Almost every Khajiit cook knows of the black market and visits it regularly to get moon sugar to cook with when another Khajiit comes over for dinner. Due to the abundance of moon sugar in their culture, they have created a sort of tolerance for it, unrivaled by the other races. While moon sugar may be deadly for many other races when taken into large amounts, many Khajiit could not care less about the moon sugar in their food, and they just find it tasty. Their dishes often include other exotic ingredients next to the moon sugar that they grow in elsewhere. Unfortunately, their daily cuisine does not have much ingredients from outside of elsewhere, since these days many merchants basically avoid the markets of elsewhere due to the illegal moon sugar trade there, which has made it so that foreign ingredients are hard to come by in elsewhere. My favorite Khajiit dish from the book is by far the skooma. I mean, you did not think that skooma would not be in this book. And I promise I'm soon gonna make some skooma live on video and then later drink it, as long as nobody reports me to the guard, of course. Another fun dish was the spiced warm milk with sugar and honey. It's milk, tasty for cats, mixed with moon sugar, tasty for Khajiit, and they apparently take it before bed to get to sleep. It's just warm milk with moon sugar, I like it. Now, the Altmer cuisine is pretty much the way that we all imagined it to be, fine and very perfected. In their long years of isolation on the Somerset Isles, the Altmer have perfected their cuisine without outside influences. In recent years, however, they have begun incorporating the finest techniques they learned from all around Tamriel from the other races into their own cuisine, making those techniques even more exquisite and making their cuisine overall even more perfect. They dine with very strict table manners and enjoy a wide range of dishes, as long as it's made from quality ingredients and they can have a fine liquor or brandy on the side. Unfortunately, like I mentioned before, the book does not really seem to feature any Altmer recipes like the Redguards, probably because I'm too much of a weeb to make them since they are apparently so fine, but I'll keep an eye out for them, and you keep an eye out for the top comment under this video. Maybe I found anything by the time that you're watching it. I don't know. Next is the opposite of the Altmer, the Orcs. The Orcish cuisine has always been a bit of a mystery to me. To my knowledge, there wasn't much on it, but I never imagined it to be very fine or delicate. And the book basically confirms my suspicion. Because the Orcs have a very simple cuisine that is practical first and foremost. Their dishes are simple and a bit primitive. Some Orcs even use the fires of a blacksmith forge to make their food, but they make the food in large quantities in the strongholds. So meals that way can be shared with every member of the stronghold during dinner. The book even gives an example of such a share meal, the Orsimer venison. A communal meal made out of roast venison on rice. Many of their strongholds serve this, as venison is most abundant in their strongholds due to the abundance of it. It's simple but tasty. An interesting side note to this is that the best chef in all of Tamriel, praised by even the Altmer, is the Gourmet, who, ironically, is an orc. If you want to know more about him, I did a video about him as well, so watch it if you want to know more. Next up are the Bretons. Their cuisine is also made up of quality ingredients, as they have access to exotic foods from their rich trading in Iliac Bay. And the climate of High Rock is ideal for most vegetables. But what the book also tells us is that Breton cuisine on itself does not really exist, as there are basically two types of Breton cuisine. The noble cuisine, which is expensive and elaborate. It consists out of really fine dishes made for the aristocracy, made by professional cooks, while poor peasantry of High Rock have their own peasant cuisine, which consists mainly out of their own foraging and farming. As for them, imported goods are likely too expensive, as they're all bought up by the aristocracy. A good example, and maybe even the only example of Breton cuisine in the book, as I haven't been able to find anything else, is the canis root tea, made for Breton mages, that wakes up the body and the mind. Now, next up is probably the race with the weirdest cuisine, the Argonians. The book even mentions that their cuisine is an impenetrable taste for outsiders. They eat a lot of raw fish and forest swamp plants that they collect in the marshes. Their dishes are often accompanied by small side dishes in the form of everything that they can find, from small fish to insects and even other little creatures they find in the marshes. They basically eat everything. Most of their dishes are not made for the other races, however the book does mention the swamp shrimp boil. It's simple, a boil made out of shrimp caught in black marsh. This is one of the few Argonian dishes that has popularity all around Tamriel and has local varieties with local types of shrimps. So in Skyrim, shrimp caught in Skyrim. Finally, there's the Dunmer. Due to the volcanic land of Morrowind, farming and hunting is very hard for many around the country. Their cuisine reflects this, as they often eat eggs that are foraged and meat from guar. Guar are one of the few animals able to thrive in volcanic landscape. They also have their own crops that grow in the volcanic land, like ash jam. They also have exotic drinks made out of fruits that they grow in the volcanic wasteland, like chujama. My two favorite Dunmer dishes from this book are not necessarily because of the taste, but because of the lore descriptions behind the dish that go with the page. The first is the Balmora cabbage biscuits, and the second is the Kwama egg quiche. Both are dishes that were only found in Morrowind until the Red Mountain erupted. Then both dishes were carried by Dunmer refugees all over Tamriel, popularizing them and creating local variants with local ingredients. Now, this was far from everything in the book. This book is, to be honest, amazing. This is not really a review of the book, but I can really recommend it, especially if you like cooking. I don't, but there's lore descriptions, so yeah, and I need to do a video on it. If you don't really like cooking, there are the small lore descriptions with basically every dish, and they are sometimes really surprisingly detailed. The most dishes are the Dunmer and the Nordic dishes in this book, like they are really overrepresented, but it says so on the cover. However, there's also a good slice of Imperial, Khajiiti and even Orcish dishes. Unfortunately, the other races are a bit underrepresented, with only a few Bosmer, Argonian and Breton dishes, with no Redguard or Altmer dishes. But even though I'm pretty happy with my book, it's a neat piece for my collection, and I promised a few months ago to my Discord that I will make a cooking video where you see me live cooking some of the more simple dishes of this book. And of course we're gonna make sweet rolls, and of course we're gonna make skooma if I can find the ingredients without getting arrested. That said, if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe. Also, I want to give my heartfelt sorry to everybody who requested this subject. I believe that DJ Changelog and Phoenix Hunter from the Discord requested this subject like a lot of times, but I really wanted to wait until we got something like this or something more on the cuisine, because otherwise it would basically be just guesswork, and I think that in the end everybody is happier with this video instead of guesswork by me. So yeah, again, if you liked it, like, subscribe. If you want personal contact with me, there is of course my Instagram and Discord in the description. If you want to support me in a more personal way, there is my Patreon. Here's your name at the end of every video and those kind of things. Yeah, I will see you all later. Bye bye.